Hey folks, Matt, Sam, thanks for waiting. Thanks for being up so early. All right, looking good. All right, so with me is Ukrit and Aliza and
Hi.
Chavisa Vendi. So this is gonna be a casual catch up, setting it as a format as a kind of a meet two Thai rock stars, superstar entrepreneurs at a bar. So we're just gonna chat with them. And we're gonna give everybody a few minutes. Until then, just grab your favorite drink and see y'all in a little bit. All right, so we're on record, and you feel free to open your videos. You know, you've got ringside seats to this fireside chat, so you get the most benefit. Everybody else gets a recording. I'm the ASEAN Director of Impact Collective, by the way, and with me is Wendy, who represents the THUS team, which is the Sustainability and Impact Consultancy that's helping to power this program, the regional anchor for Thailand. So I've got a short presentation. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes for people to just show up. But for everybody else who's gonna be watching the recording, just feel free to send in your questions if you can't make it, but you like to ask a few things. Text us via Moyam, or you can even send us an email or a message on your preferred social media. So while we're waiting, I think Sam, you're the first to show up. I saw you come in like twice. So can you say a little bit about yourself and what compelled you to show up this early morning? And he's gone. And Matt, if you're there, you'd like to say a little bit something about yourself. Okay, so Sam's got some technical issues, and he's on, and he's gone. No worries, no worries. So Wendy Krep, shall we load up the presentation? So just while everybody's waiting and just kind of waltzing in, thank you so much for making it in the wee mornings. And this is going to be one of many cross-border Launchbox activities that we are preparing for our first batch, 86 teams. Over 20 have expressed an interest to expand to Thailand. So thank you for that. And representing both Impact Collective and Thailand today, very proud that besides an amazing paradise destination, that's been spared the brunt of COVID. And Ukrit Earn on the call will be able to show you his vacation villa where he's digital nomading from. We see there's a lot
Yes,
of
exactly.
right, and I can see that you look very tired. It must have been a very fun night.
Right, on the island. So I can tell you all how fun it is in Thailand.
Exactly. So on that note, while there's a lot of positive news and exciting energy about our long road to get out of COVID and special visas and whatnot, there's also a lot of realities on the ground of what it takes to build a impact business in Thailand. And despite being the second largest economy and having many great entrepreneurs like the two in this call, it's a real journey for some like Alice. We've been doing this for 10 years. And journey continues. So on that note, we're gonna get started, and anybody who just shows up, just say hello and wave to us and drop us some questions, whether on the Zoom chat, on Moem, on all the other platforms. But until then, this is the first session of the cross-border Launchbox for Thailand, powered by Thus. And thank you all for being here, Sam, Matt, and from Godi. So next slide. All right, so before we really dive in, really quick intros about our regional anchors and what they are. And just to recap for everybody who's about to join, these are the people that are going to make the program happen for you, especially for you when you're thinking of expanding to another market. So next. Yep, so we are based in Vietnam, Seoul, Singapore, and Thailand, and we're going to cover a few other exciting regions. For example, the Thailand team has heard your call. Over 26 people said they want to expand their business to Indonesia. So we'll be bringing a few of our friends to cover that market as well. We will be your Sherpa, your guide onto the ground, connecting you with folks, giving you the lay of the land, and hopefully getting you, the first potential client or a partner or investor. Fingers crossed, but we can't promise anything. But at the end of the day, you come up with a strategy, whether you're ready or not. We're going to give you our honest feedback, and we're going to make sure that we will help you refine it so it's actually real and tangible. And really tap into our network, because our network oftentimes spans beyond just Thailand. So next. All right, so a few of the folks you know already, Nick and the Draper Startup House, they're part of the Tim Draper's family. So he's your go-to in Singapore, and he's gonna also be talking a lot about Malaysia. In the Seoul and the Korea team, Jimin is funding both the ventures, which is the VC fund behind Impact Collective, and they're also going to cover a lot of the North Asia topics, whether that is Japan and possibly China. Next up. Bobby is the godfather of Vietnam. He's working with one of the most famous co-working space there, Dreamplex. And if you don't know Bobby, you don't know Vietnam. So lastly, a new team, new kid on the block. In Bangkok, especially in the impact scene, and they run a sustainability consultancy and a venture builder. And they're not here today, and I'm here to help support them, but they're so famous that they will be coming with their own event on Monday, October 19th. All right, so that's the reason a lot of people ask what the name of the company is, like the consequence, the result, therefore. So thus, you will be able to expand wildly successful if you talk to these amazing three gentlemen. So who are they? They're behind some of the most famous ventures, impact ventures in Thailand, whether it's Thailand's first designed and built electric motorcycle, social wreaths that take out fresh flowers from landfills and put a lot of the money to good use for donations for the funeral industry, which hasn't been disrupted forever. Waste management platform like GEP and Cash Now digital lending platform. So they've been building a lot of interesting companies in the space, and the credit goes to these three gentlemen. So the first folk that you need to know is the big brother, Archawat, who is the advisor for the program. He used to work with me as a chief strategy officer at Hubba, and was the former ASEAN Director of Public Affairs, Communication, and Sustainability. So he will be coming with Top, who used to work together at Coca-Cola and Mars Incorporated as a managing director and country manager, and talk about doing business with corporations and MNCs in Thailand. So stay tuned for that, October 19th. I think we're going to do that on 9 a.m. And lastly, I think we have Kun Earth. Oh, of course, Wendy as well. I'll go back. Yes, we can't miss this guy. He's a rock star. So the electric motorcycle idea goes to him and all the other ventures. And he's a bit of a design maestro in Thai impact tech scene. Also founder of a famous venture builder called Alma Digital Group. So between the three of them, and we've got Wendy, who's on the call. And she's a great entrepreneur in her own right. Worked with many startups during her tenure as the general manager at the Thailand Tech Startup Association, and now about to launch her own impact startup. So Wendy, can you say a little bit something before we get started?
Hi, everyone. So I'm Wendy. And then, yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, Wendy will be the point of contact. The three gentlemen are such a rock star that they might be a little hard to catch, but they will make their time for Impact Collective, including myself, supporting from Thailand. But Wendy will make sure that you get the full Impact Collective experience, especially for the Thailand portion. So, and today, what do we have in mind? So we've got Aliza and Ukrit, or more affectionately known as Alice from Social Giver, and Ern from Recult. These two are very hard to catch. They're rock stars. Alice just ran out from another call. And Ern is taking time off from his vacation because in Thailand we have a few extra holidays this year. And he is so kind to spare some of his time to really share us the experience of getting lost and probably found it in Thailand from an entrepreneur's perspective. Before they introduce themselves, right after this session, we've got a famous lawyer in Thailand called Tanvan. You can see he's so famous. He's got a baller photo. He's actually my lawyer as well. He's a partner of Grant Thornton in Thailand. Is one of leading law firms, and he's going to be giving us the download the ins and outs of his patenting business in Thailand. So without further ado, we're gonna, before we tell you about all the sessions happening next week, let's pass the mic to Alice. And we're gonna, yep, there we go, to share a little bit about yourself, Alice. And we can't hear you. It's all good. So, Ern, while Alice sorts her mic, your call, and show us a villa.
Okay, cool. Hi guys, you guys hear me? All right. Okay, cool. So as A mentioned, my name is Okrit, or you can call me Ern. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Recult, where we are a social enterprise that use advanced technology to help uplift farmers in developing countries such as Thailand, Indonesia, or South Asia to get out of poverty. So the concept is that we analyze a tons of data such as satellite imagery and weather data that we build in-house, and we come up with a predictive model to help farmers improve their income and productivity. So we make our app for free for the farmers to use. So we have close to 300,000 farmers, smallholder farmers in Thailand using our app right now. But we make it free, right? So we are a social enterprise. So we basically make the app free for the farmers, but with the same set of data that we collect and we analyze, we can sell the data to banks and insurance companies to do digital lending to the farmers, or come up with new crop insurance product that we can actually help sell to the farmers. So our business model is pretty much digitizing the agricultural value chain, the food supply chain, and making money off the big players in the supply chain, such as restaurants, banks, insurance, or like fertilizer company. But on the other hand, we make our app totally free for the farmers to get on board into our platform. So happy to share my adventures and journey, how we got here so far. We raised around 5 million US dollars so far in Southeast Asia. It has been quite challenging, to be honest, raising funding for social impact company, but happy to share out my journey since I started around 3 years ago. So basically AIMS helped me a lot when I first started. So AIM was actually one of my first angel investor. So, and he connected me with a lot of investors in the region. So most of our investors come from Thailand, come from Singapore, and several come from Europe and the US. So when we were small, most of our investors were quite local, like angel investor in Thailand, some VC fund in Singapore. But right now, as we expanded, we have hundreds of thousands of farmers on our platform. We have proven our impact. We have a lot of like non-profit social impact fund from Switzerland, from you know Ray Dalio, the principal book author. Their fund also reached out to me. So basically a lot of philanthropic like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, a lot of rich American European family have their own social impact fund. So once you get into a certain as A mentioned, so I'm in a beach villa right now in Thailand. So as if you have never been to Thailand, the cost is quite cheap in Thailand. So it's just around what $50 a night for a hotel by the beach, and you can get mojitos and beers and work by the beach right now. So as a digital nomad. So once COVID get lift up, I would recommend you guys to come and try Thailand out. Yes,
that's amazing. I was gonna just say that was the most important thing. We want to see the villa, but I think you're all making us very jealous that we have to stay home, save lives. But I think Ernst is still a little bit too humble. He recently raised a ton of funding from some of the major banks in Thailand, right?
Yep. So we just closed around $2 million round from Bangkok Bank and Krungsri Bank, which are two of the largest commercial banks in Thailand. And you might hear some good news in a couple of next month about 2 more funds investing in us. But the journey was very, very difficult and challenging, especially during COVID time. So probably I can tell you that I spent almost 6 months just talking with investors, doing due diligence with them. So around 100 investors reached out to me. I closed like 2 deals out of all.
Oh, that's about right. 2% success rate.
Yep.
So
it was quite a journey, I would say.
I'm sure it is. So Pialis, are you back ready to rock and roll? I think we see your lips moving, but we can't hear you. I'm not sure if anybody can hear her. Okay. Maybe Pialis, why don't you try a different device and we'll wait for you. Okay. So while we're waiting, guys, Sam, I'm gonna change the format a little bit for good times. Everybody, can you just quickly introduce yourself for 15 seconds and tell us what you want out of this session, why you joined? Short and sweet. Go ahead, whoever wants to go first. Sam, go for it. And we can't hear you too. All right. Guys, I think you wanna check the mute button at the bottom left and just click the up arrow. Just make sure it's on the right microphone that you like. And Sharif, Matt, anybody?
Yep, Sharif here. So very quickly, basically, you know, at Outpost, we're trying to modernize street food vendors, and we initially wanted to set out as Indonesia being our first market, but with COVID and the lockdowns and all that, making things a little bit more challenging / interesting for us. And knowing that, you know, the solution that we're building can be relevant to many other emerging developing countries across Southeast Asia, South Asia, South America, West Africa, and such. Thailand is a natural destination to look into, right? it's also one, while I'm most culturally nuanced to Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand is a market that I'm least familiar with. So hence why I'm here to check it out, and very much inspired by the story that I heard 2 minutes ago from our friend, and it gives us hope that you could still do fundraise no matter how difficult it is. Still, you can do it in this market, and B, even if you're running a company that's lean towards social impact more so than just being a traditional venture-backed company, there's still hope that you can raise, right? So yeah, that's a bit about me and what we like to do.
Awesome. Okay. So
hoping that Eliza managed to sort out her
Yes, I hope my microphone is working
Works
now.
now.
yeah, it's
Sweet.
actually
Oh,
your
thank
camera is
you.
much better now too.
Sharif.
Yeah, I'll jump
Sharif,
off
thank
right
you
now and
for
give all the
filling in.
airtime back to
No,
Eliza.
I really enjoyed listening
I'm just a
to
filler
what
today.
you're working on.
Okay.
Huh.
So Sharif, you're planning to expand to Thailand, and you just want to know the lay of the land. And can you
Yeah.
tell, like, in 3 words, what you do for Alice, in case she missed out?
So we're modernizing street food vendors, and happy to deep dive into what we exactly do with that.
Okay, perfect. Street food.
We
Thailand loves it.
all love food, so I think it has a lot of potential, definitely. So thank you so much for having me on. I do apologize earlier. Let me just jump into what I do at Social Giver. So we basically run a lifestyle platform that allows you to be able to do more of what you love, which is to travel and spend in your daily lifestyle, but at the same time with the money going toward different organizations. So how we do this is we actually work with brands to provide their spare service capacity onto Social Giver so that customers can purchase it at the best available rate, and with the money going to the different organizations that we want to support. I mean, initially, we wanted even to have the Social Giver platform support other social enterprise, but Social Giver started off like a little bit too early in some ways. So we didn't have any other social enterprises at that time to support. So we opt for a more familiar route for our users, which is to support local charities and organizations that are doing great work. And it's also very important for us that they are also transparent with what they do. And so I think this is one of the key issues that we wanted to solve, was the transparency from the social impact side, as well as create more meaningful engagements for the brands in doing CSR. And not just only using cash, but turning in kind into in cash donations. And so for us, we find that it's really about targeting customers that are lifestyle spenders and not just for people who already care about social impact. And I think that's just one of the markets in which we are interested in, because we see that there's a lot of potential for people who can slowly get in, we slowly basically inception spenders into being more socially conscious in their lifestyle spending. So just like Earn, if he purchased the service through Social Giver, one night at a pool villa could send a child to school for a whole year.
Wow, and there's so many great deals on the platform. This is the go-to place if you want a nice villa and also saving the world. So, Earn, did you actually book on Social Giver? Just calling you out.
Not this time,
Not
but
this
I
one.
booked a lot of my food voucher especially during the COVID lockdown through the Social Giver. So it's pretty cool that I get discount on the food I eat, but it's also all the money goes to donation to charity.
Nice.
See, Earn is almost like my brand ambassador. He can explain like my model. He can like find me customers and find me different brands. So I think like what we have is like super, valuable in terms of the networks that we build. As so, a lot of us has been in, around for a long time, and we do have our struggles and challenges, and we also need people like AIM to really put us together and become, more organized and more kind of stronger and proactive in what we want to do eventually. So we're not the only crazy one to think that, what we're doing can really change, and make the world really a better place to live in.
I think that's a great segue into my first question, which is, it seems to me that the Thai startup or impact community is like a small village and quite collaborative. Can you share your experience, especially Pialis? You've been here 10 years, if not more. Like I've seen you like
Did you see my
literally since
wrinkles?
day
No.
one. But you haven't aged a day.
Yeah.
I
Well, the
can
thing
assure
is,
you.
it seems like I started for a long time, but because I was working in the private sector at the same time as when I started my social enterprise. And so it is one of those things where you really try to reach out to people that really cared, you know. And sometimes when you're still in a private sector, you're still reaching out to like colleagues or even former colleagues on, you know, sharing and pre-pitching your idea. And you know, even before how AIM really transformed the whole landscape about pitching and really like getting people to learn to really reflect upon themselves and their strategies. But I think the journey for social enterprises has been a long one. As you know, like trying to push the legislation to recognize social enterprise as a legal entity took us about 5 or so years already. That's why when we started off, we had to register it as a company, you know, and we don't see ourselves as just registering it as a charity either. There's also a lot of restrictions around that in Thailand, and we'll come back to that later. But in terms of getting, you know, the support we need, I think at that time there was not a network of people who were interested social entrepreneurs, but people who were just interested to doing something good. And that kind of like from a very informal conversation turned into like we're all very serious people who really wanted to do something, and it's not just all talk. So I think that kind of led to a lot of different projects that we did together. So before even doing Social Giver, we were actually running the My World campaign for the UN to derive the SDGs. So before it became the Sustainable Development Goals, like our team was actually running the public engagement campaign. And that also gave us a lot of insight to what was it that Thailand really cared about, or what was it that we care too little about and that we should really highlight. And so, you know, a lot of the different things were like an integration of, you know, getting to where we are. But I really think that, I mean, the network that we have in terms of social entrepreneurs, they're very helpful. It's, you know, a lot of the things that you need help on, you can, you know, you can do your homework, and then you can actually find somebody to kind of, you know, point the way, or at least let you kind of give you that nudge to be able to dare maybe talk to a government like organization or somebody that you feel that is so out of reach, but they make it you feel like, you know, what you have solidify that and kind of start connecting you.
Yeah. And I think you've done that in spades. Look, folks, like Alice is partly behind the SDG, so that's a big deal. And so many teams are interested in that space. I think Sam wanted to test his mic and also ask a few questions. We're gonna just weave this into almost like us gathering at a bar and just kind of throwing it around the room. So go for it, mate. Alrighty. No, still no. Matt and Feng, if you want to chime in, go ahead. But what I'm hearing, Pialis, is that community is very supportive and still having the right network and the right, I would say, trust and kind of brand and you know, people opening doors for you is so very important to doing business in Thailand. Now, I get that Southeast Asia, that's pretty much everywhere. Like, is there a particular thing in the Thai's impact ecosystem that you would say either is a really big challenge or a very big opportunity, or what, you know, or both? And Earn as well. Like, what would be something that you've seen over the course of your ventures to be really big roadblock or an opportunity?
I'll just go first really quickly in terms of like opportunities. I feel that the social impact scene is still relatively new. So if you do have the energy and the strategy to kind of take some organizations or even some brands to the next level, I think that is something that people are looking for, different tools to getting them there. And so with that space of like this huge grab, because I feel that in Thailand, there's still a lot of problems, a lot, like endless for you to, jump in and solve, and, maybe not even the competition to solve those problems, or finding ways for you to, bring better solutions to the picture. And so I feel that for me, it's really about opportunity. Of course, there are challenges. I'm sure that, every market has those challenges. In Thailand, maybe it's about educating the space on why social impact is important in the first place, and that it's not just a CSR stunt that we're trying to pull here. And how do we let them want to invest in something that goes far more than just creating a PR event? So I think those challenges can be overcome if the solution is, delivers that value proposition that you aim for.
Yeah, and I think Ern, on that note, we hear that a lot. Like Thai corporates do a lot of CSR and greenwashing, whitewashing, but you've been quite successful to raise funding from them. Your experience, are they actually worth talking to?
Yeah, so I think the good things about Southeast Asia is that a lot of people like us in the ASEAN region actually want to do good for the society, and most of us are still in the developing countries. So a lot of these corporates want to make their own countries or the local economy better. So I think there's definitely angles that if you can prove that your technology or your innovation can help make your community better, I would say that a lot of corporate would be more than happy to talk with you. But when they talk with you, right, you have to see that it will be in the form of partnerships where they open new market for you, or bringing your product to the market for you, or if they are going to pay you for the CSR project. Getting paid from them, getting money from them might be harder in the initial stage, but I would say that when you first start off, the best things that you can get from these guys are, first of all, PR, right? They would probably put you in the news with them, or doing some MOU or some partnership with them with some photo opportunities to get your name out. Second, they will probably bring you your product up to the market for you, so you can save your customer acquisition cost. So I think those are the benefits of working with the corporates. But the most annoying things with corporate is that you have to make sure that you go into the right person. A lot of 80% of the people in the corporate will waste your time. So one thing that I learned is to say no, right? To identify who is actually useful and who is actually wasting your time, and try to. I think that's one of the skills I developed really quickly in the past few years. First, when I first started off, I talked with anyone who invited me to go to a meeting, I just went, and 80% of the time was just a waste of time. So once you get more experience, you would know who you should talk to, what type of meeting would actually be a fruitful turnout. So I think you can learn from that. And another thing that might be more difficult, maybe to add on the points that Alice mentioned earlier, is that social impact scene in the Southeast Asian region is still new, even though there are starting to be a few social impact fund coming into this region, but it is still harder to raise funding compared to social enterprise in Europe or America. So I would say that you should be patient and try your best to not burn your money too quickly, and try to stay in the game longer, because I think in this part of the world, credibility and doing this for a while, getting some media attention is quite helpful in getting trust from partners, I would say. But I want to add that when I first started off at Recount, I competed in a lot of startup and social enterprise competition. So maybe you can reach out to AIM and see what type of competition there are, or what type of fellowships there are that actually give you free money to start off your company. So when I first started off Recount, I think I got like almost $100,000 or like $150,000 for free from different competitions in Asia, in Singapore, in Asia level. So there are quite a few competitions that you can join. You get free grants, you get free media attention, you got a lot of free things. So I would recommend that these are quite helpful, right? And me and Aim and Alice were in several fellowship programs that actually help groom your social enterprise. For example, we were part of the Obama Leaders Network, which they are quite helpful in connecting us with different players or different stakeholders in the region. So I would say that if you have some time, try to navigate, just go to Google and search like social enterprise competition Southeast Asia, social enterprise competition Singapore, Vietnam, and so on, and see which one is actually have enough money to give you and the one that actually is helpful. For example, this is pretty helpful, right, Aim and Wendy? So,
yeah, we hope to see you both in the next batch, but for sure you are at the right place, folks. And I guess there's two things that was really interesting that pop up, Ern, when you mentioned the corporates and you said you had a pro tip, and you share with us,
right.
like, how do you identify somebody who's like a time waster versus like, okay, this is the real deal?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how it works in other countries. So I see you guys, some from Indonesia, some from Singapore, right? Maybe. And so I'm not sure how it works in your countries, but in Thailand, the culture is very top down. So basically, no matter if you talk with like some, I would say that speaking with an analyst is usually a waste of time most of the time, unless they can connect you with their boss or their like director, because they cannot make any decisions unless their boss says so. So try to best to go as high as possible in the corporate ladders to pitch your ideas and let them do a top down decision makings and project management. Or else if you go bottom up, it will take very, very long.
Good call. I think I've experienced a lot of that as well. But the issue, the maximum pro tip for Thailand is sometimes the founders have such a big family. They all have the same last name. You actually have to do a lot of DD. Is this the right person on the right family tree to actually be talking to as well? On the other hand, Ern, you were talking about funding. And I think it's quite interesting because it seems you have some corporate and then a lot of international donor or impact funds, but not a lot of Thai impact fund or Thai private VCs. Can you tell us more about that space and why that might be a challenge or an opportunity?
Yeah, so first of all, I think the Thai local impact VC, I mean, first of all, just a Thai local VC is almost not existential. So most of the local VC in Thailand are like 500 tuk-tuk, right? 500 startup, which we already got funding from them. And most of this VC in Thailand are actually CVC, like corporate venture capital. So CVC from banks or large conglomerate like oil company, for example. So we were quite successful in raising funding from CVC from the banks, but they are technically not real social impact per se, but I think our story went through, right? I think the good thing about doing something that is good for the world or like helping the world is that most of the people will claim that they want to help the world, right? So they will feel good if they talk to you. So at least that helps open the door for you to talk with the investors. But at the end of the day, especially in this region, they will ask you like, how do you actually become financially sustainable, and how do you make what's your business model, right? Regardless of how good your impact is, you have to be very clear about your growth potential and your business model, how you actually make money.
On that same note, I completely agree with you. And then Sharif had a question, like, so it seems like banks and financial institutions are reopening to partner with social impact startups to offer financing to their startup clients. That means, have you seen a lot of interest from the banks? And I think in your case, they're even trying to partner with you to potentially give loans to some of your farmers in your network.
Right, because I'm more on the financial inclusion space. So all the banks want to give loans to the farmers in my network, right? But in Thailand, the banks are super rich. They are one of the largest corporates in Thailand. So they have lots of money to float around with CSR project and PR and like helping startup to groom. So in fact, I think most of our startup accelerator in Thailand are run by banks, which is quite unique, I would say.
Totally. So now, if all these people in the call are friends, Alice and Ern, what would you advise them? Like, come to Thailand, don't come to Thailand, do this to be successful, don't do this?
Alice, you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, I feel that you probably need to see the market fit first, and I'm sure you're working on that. Of course, I'm very happy to give you insight if it's like, if you have other lists of questions that you would want us to answer. It's more of finding a person who can also connect you to local people, as in like, because a lot of the people, you know, you still need a Thai language person to kind of connect you. And I think that would be extremely helpful in terms of your operations as well. But, you know, languages aside, I think there's still a lot of room for social entrepreneurs to see that, you know, there's a lot of improvements that we can work on. What I would be most worried about would be the type, like, I'm sure that if you want to recruit from overseas into Thailand, I'm sure AIM has a lot of recommendations regarding building teams that are international teams into Thailand. There's a lot of regulations around hiring people here. If you have a local team, most recently, the government has issued some subsidies for recruiting new grads. So they subsidize salaries for new grads, those who graduated last year and this year, which is also quite helpful. In terms of lifestyle, like ever since the COVID lockdown, I have asked my team to work just 2 days a week, which they preferred. They don't want to commute so far. And so, you know, in terms of connecting with the team, I think you can also work remotely quite well here. And people are, you know, because I feel that there's a little bit a trade-off if you haven't raised funds yet regarding salaries for staff. So sometimes they're looking for the impact that they want to build or the lifestyle that they want to have. So I think these are the key drivers into selecting who would be working with you to build that in Thailand. And we have a lot of people who wanted to apply for a job with us purely because they know that they would have a very great value for money if they were to live here, and also have really good exposures. I mean, without the international travel ban, is actually a really good spot to be based in.
Yeah, and I think on that note, though, Social Giver hired a lot of expats, I recall, and there's always the issue of like, well, does the founder, like, you know, Sam or Matt or Sharif, do I need to go and be there to build the team, or can I hire a really strong country head, or does that person even exist to represent me? Or if I come here, you know, whichever options do I hire just locals? Do I hire international as well? But I heard that the visa situation's a little crazy.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, I think.
And
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, and if I may just add to that list of questions as well, how best to structure and incentivize the local operation company, right? Let's assume, like, you know, if you're a foreign-based startup, and then, you know, you've got a holding company elsewhere, then you're going to have a local entity. Then, you know, do you find a country head, and how do you best, you know, incentivize the country head? Like, for example, recall, I noticed there's a team, there's a CEO in Pakistan as well. So I'm not sure how that structuring works to incentivize everyone with the right ESOP and all that stuff. So.
Yeah. Maybe I can add on that. You guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I think it's quite unique in the sense that I started the company off when I was a student in the US, and I started with some co-founders from the US, and we registered our head office in the US, and we hold 100% in Thailand. Regarding the company registration and how it works out, you can ask me later. So quick story is something called BOI, which is a Thai law that allows foreign company to own 100% Thai company, and there's benefit in terms of hiring foreigners and getting work permit. So if you move to Thailand, you would definitely have to apply for BOI, or else you cannot operate your company in Thailand. So that's the easy part. It just takes around 6 months to get a BOI license in Thailand, because the government is so efficient that it takes a long time to approve your process. But other than that, I think the more difficult part is how do you build a strong local team, and how do you find a good Thai head, right? Because in Thailand, as Alice mentioned, if you cannot speak Thai, it would be quite difficult to struck a partnership or to do business deal, because most Thai people would prefer to speak in Thai still. So you would need a Thai partner, a Thai team members to speak Thai.
Oh, I think island internet is getting the best of Earn.
Yeah, but I agree with Earn on that front.
Okay,
Food talent like that, pay tons of money to hire so and networks, because they're probably
okay.
you guys still with me?
I think we got you in bits and pieces, but I think if I were to decode the last 10 seconds, did you say that it would be the best strategy would be to hire a strong local head and then get them to build a strong team?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Yes. That's what I say. So let me close my video. So to make things more smooth. So basically, if you're really serious about Thailand, you have to hire at least one strong person, at least at the manager level or at a director level, right? To expand your partnership and expand your team. Because if you don't have a local people, I don't think local partners will speak with you, unless you are like tech giants already, like Facebook or Go. If you're still small, no one will speak with you if you don't speak Thai, I would say.
Awesome. So where do you go to hire these smart people? Because we've heard that there's a talent crunch in Thailand. Everybody's doing digital transformation or startup or corporate innovation, and nobody's unemployed.
Yeah, so basically, I think you guys are lucky that you know Aim and Wendy, so you can probably let them share your post on their Facebook.
Yeah, they have a huge network.
I think that's the easiest way. So.
Oh, but they know Alice and Earn too. So we'll just put it on.
Because
buddy.
Happy to
finding good
reach
people
out
would be
to
quite
people.
tough at this time if you don't pay enough. Yeah.
I see. P. Alice, have any tips? Because you seem to build quite a kind of unique team. Some of them ex-corporate, some people working pro bono, some are from abroad. You've tried it all.
Yeah, we tried like quite a number of them. I actually would prefer like full-time. We usually don't do any part-time roles unless you're just working on design, which is very project-based. So I think you must be very clear with who would be willing to do it part-time, or who would be in it for the medium run to the long run with you. It's also how you want to structure your company in terms of providing incentives for your staff. I think that's also really important. Like for us, we have different levels of flexibility depending on seniority, but at the same time, I think it's more about their potential to grow and to grow the team themselves based on, building enough traction in their part of the department. I feel that in terms of like for our recruiting, this is going to be our second recruiting round for this year, right after COVID. We ended up like turning the tables around like really quickly with a lot of the business that we're doing. So I feel that I agree with Earn about finding people, especially specific roles that they got into that work role in the first place because it attracts a lot of money, or you get very high paid roles. So I think it's really about sharing your vision on how they really, so you just have to keep recruiting. Like honestly, for me, it's not not based on the recruiting rounds. I'm recruiting all the time. When I meet people that are very interesting, or former colleagues in corporates that I know that at one point they would want to be able to join a startup or have the potential to join a startup, I'll be sharing the progress of my company over years. You know, I've converted some people to join the team full time, but it takes time for them to, you know, really see the progress of your company and feel that slowly that sense of ownership that they want to be able to do more than just volunteering or providing like advice on an occasion. So I think that's kind of like what we also do alongside for us right now. We're in the process of also building our board of advisors on like really learning from, you know, other companies on how is it that they would structure that. So it's a learning process for myself as well. But I have so far recruited people who can speak both Thai and English. That would be like, you know, one of the priorities that we have. They can actually deal on many fronts on behalf of you. And I think building the right culture is also important. Hence, having the local country head, I feel is really important.
Cool. Quick curveball from Sam. How's the working culture in Thailand? Anything to be worried about? Surprised or afraid?
I have to wait, Sam. Where are you from?
I think you might need to text your answer because I'll try to read your lips.
Oh, okay.
I
Here
kind
we
of
go.
figured Malaysia.
Yeah, so I think like for me and my co-founder, we have very different like management styles. And so for him, he expects our Thai staff to roam free and be independent and make decisions, you know, and he expects just to see really good results. Whereas for me, when I worked in the private sector before and managing different levels of people across different sectors, you start to realize that it's really about having constant communication with them, informal, constant communication with them to know what is their ability to take on different levels of stress and the level of guidance. So a lot of the Thai staff would feel a little bit more secure when you are checking up on them and kind of like I don't think they mind as much when you like follow up with them quite regularly on how they're doing. It's almost a way for them to also reflect how far they have come, and also having to provide that validation for them that they're doing a good job, you know, and that they're going down that right path. Because sometimes as founders or management, you can be quite spontaneous on taking on like new ad hoc projects that would add value to your business potentially as an experiment. But sometimes your team or the Thai team might not be able to feel like, oh, is this just an experiment, or like what is the level of engagement that they should be prioritizing this for? So communication, like closely, informally across, like even when you have lunch or dinner with them, it's fine to talk about work. So it's good to just like catch up and see like on the lighter side of things for the role that they're in as well.
Yeah, maybe I can add a bit more. So I would say that in terms of corporate and working culture, I wouldn't say that it is much of a difference between people in Malaysia and people in Thailand. I think it's quite similar, that Asian culture with like seniority and so on and so forth. But I think for like the younger generations, I think Thai kids are getting more and more liberal in terms of their thinking and their working style. So I would say that they're quite not that difficult to work with. But I would say that one advantage that I found about being a social impact driven company is that most of the people that would join you for the mission and vision rather than the money themselves. I can say for a fact that at Recount, we are able to get a lot of very, very good talent, and they are willing to cut their salary off by like 30-40%. So like all my team members in their previous job, they got like 50% higher salary than what they get from Recount, but they still quit their previous job to join us because of the vision and the impact that we do for the community and the society. And interestingly, we got a lot of application from people in their 40s actually.
Interesting. And
Hey, you're on mute, Ern.
sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can now.
All right. So I was saying that I got a lot. Interestingly, I got a lot of job applications from two types of people. First of all, it will be like new college grads that are still like highly driven about making the world better, right? People who just graduated from college, they apply to recruit a lot. I get a lot from those type of people. And another that I was very surprised are people in the 40s who work in the corporate for like 15, 20 years, are in their like in the management levels, either manager or director levels. And all of them applied to me and said, oh, I got really, really bored about my corporate life, even though I'm making a lot of money, but it doesn't satisfy my passion and my life goals. So I want to quit my corporate job and join you, willing to take 50% pay cut, for example, or like 40% pay cut. So we got a lot of interest from those people as well, as long as your vision is clear, your mission is clear, and how you're making the society better. I think a lot of people these days are looking more about like being purposeful and having a mission in life rather than money itself.
So Ern, how did these people in their 40s find you?
So usually two things. So being in the news a lot is quite helpful, right? Being in like the tech news, being in the newspaper, going to speak like what we are doing, going to speak in conference is really helpful. Second of all, I post in like LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is very, very helpful and very cheap in terms of doing job posting. And I also post in a lot of local Thai job posting site. And in Thailand, we have this Facebook group called Social Enterprise Thailand. I think Pia Liz, you are also in there with AIM. So we have around maybe 30,000 people in there. So there are a lot of Facebook groups that you can post job posting. And there are a lot of people who are already in there that are interested in this type of job. So I got a lot of talent from that Facebook group as well. So, oh yeah.
You're on mute again.
Not sure why, but
the island Wi-Fi.
Okay, I'm back.
At all.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, this Facebook group is very helpful. I found a lot of good people in this Facebook group called Social Enterprise Thailand or something. So if you want to open a company or expand to Thailand, maybe AIM can help post for you in this Facebook group. Yeah, I would recommend Alice to try this.
I charge per post, but
yeah,
I did drop a link on the chat, everybody, of all the active, famous job portals in Thailand and groups. So, but I learned something new. This Social Enterprise Thailand group works.
Yeah, so I got a lot of applicants from this group. So maybe I mean not even AIM. So I think you guys can just join yourself and do a job posting. It's free. You will get a lot of interest, and I think a lot of good people are in there.
Cool. Last one before we start to wind down for our next legal chat. But many times for international expansion, we need to have a little bit of business first, right? You're still not sure is that product market fit, like Alice was saying. How do we discover that? How do we get customers on the ground so we feel confident? What would it take to close our first sale?
Wow. I mean, like for us, Social Giver, we haven't expanded internationally like what Ern is doing. So Ern would probably give a better example. But from my experience, like every time when I go traveling abroad for work, I would already be selling. I would already be, even the hotel that I go and stay in, I would ask to meet with the GM and say, I would like to have even a mini pitch session to see if their hotel would be interested to join Social Giver, even when we're not even there yet. So I do that. I know it's a personal thing, but it also all give insights on what questions that they would be asking you. And every single brand that I get any contacts with, I would reach out to them just so that I can just test it out. If I have friends in that city, I want to know exactly if with this type of user experience, what other brands are there already existing there? How do you feel about their product? And why they would use us? So it's really about just being very observative, willing to ask all these questions, and I always make every opportunity that I meet different people to see if this works. Before, even when I was in the private sector, when I was just starting to do Social Giver, we don't even have a platform. One of the social enterprise show wanted me to just do a hop interview. And I was scared to doing it. I had a friend, at that time I was working in London, had a friend who was working there, was just holding the camera, and me just going on the streets, talking to people and asking them that, hey, do you have plans to come to Thailand? And if so, what if you use a travel platform like this and be able to help people? And 100% of the people on the streets were like really excited, or they were asking really good questions that I wouldn't have otherwise thought about. And so these are coming from real customers that they're not your friends, but they were willing to give just a few minutes to share with you their insight.
Awesome. Everybody's a cinematographer now. So future is iPhone 12. Great. And then last question from the chat. ESOP, Earn. Do they work? Are people thrilled about them in Thailand or not? What gets people out of bed besides a great vision and story?
I think stock option definitely helps, especially if you have to convince people to take a salary cut. I think it can be very helpful and give ownership to them.
Yes, we do that as well. We do that as well.
Yes.
Very, very helpful.
This used to not be the case. Like 5-6 years ago, everybody just wants a bigger check, but now equity is important. And I think I'm not sure if the ESOP laws have been changed yet, but we finally, after 8 years, we have convertible notes as a legal instrument. So it takes a very long time for things to move in Thailand. That said, we're out of time. Kun Tanwa, our lawyer friend, will show up in a bit. Last questions before we just kind of roll with the punches. Earn, Alice, if these folks and a lot of 20 other teams that wanted to come to Thailand where we're gonna try after COVID, how would you advise them to land well, to be able to expand smooth as silk into this amazing country?
I would say find a strong local partners and find some people who can open the doors for you, because in Thailand, doing business here, connections and partnerships are extremely critical in Thailand. So know who is a key.
Yeah. No Earn. We call him Big Earn affectionately. His connections go up all to the top of the food chain.
Yes. I was second to that, and just being physically here helps, and I think that is part of building the team. So I still think that you guys would still need to be here, even if you have a country head, or at least understand a little bit more of what they're trying to tell you. If it's not a copy and paste model, but yeah.
And for about half of the applicants to Impact Collective who are women entrepreneurs, Alice, have you found it difficult, challenging, or actually liberating to be a women-led impact maker in Thailand? Because apparently from the Thai research, we actually have a above average mean of number of women in CEO positions.
Well, if you really dig down that number,
exactly,
you will see that it's because it's a family-run company at first. So they don't mind, it's blood related, it's not gender related. You see? So if you really dig down to it, women who actually had to climb the ladder, maybe you'll see a different number, but it's because it's a very Chinese family based as well, right? So sometimes it's like, it runs in the family. It's the one who's most capable to bring that business to success. And so, that's a great start for women. I have not felt hindered by being a woman, although you still need to be quite careful. Sometimes I get a lot of odd requests to meet at odd times of the day, which I would decline. But I feel that it's just a matter of how you place yourself. And also what Ern said, who you talk to. And so I think it's just, looking after each other is really important. I try to feel, I am one of the women entrepreneurs that find it really hard to ask for help. And that has been one thing that I just felt like I just need to overcome. And so once we build a more of a social enterprise network, regardless of your gender, I think once you start to help each other, you start to realize, oh, it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay that we have made some mistakes and that we really wanted to learn about something. And so be willing to be vulnerable about what you are capable or not capable at, and be in that space where you are willing to, learn new things. Yeah.
And I think vulnerability is a skill that all of us can improve on. And with that, I know you are all super busy, so we won't take any more of your time. Ern, you are now free to dive into that pool and piss everybody off. And Pialis, thank you so much.
Yes.
Look, everybody, you've got their LinkedIn on the chat. These are the entrepreneurs you need to be looking out for, befriending, and taking them out to ample drinks when the borders open. But thank you so much for your time. And we'll see you in a few days, I think, Ern and Alice, at least for me.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. And then
thanks.
Kuntanwa is showing up in a bit. So take care, Alice, Ern.
All right.